You feel nice and clean? Good boy. Go ahead. You feel nice and clean? Huh? Oh, good boy. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead. Good boy. Go ahead. Good. Oh. Sky. Sky. Good. Hello everybody. It's George from LGW3 Orchids and Exotics. Welcome back to my channel. Just wanted to have a little discussion today about orchid roots, the importance of the roots. I find orchid roots to be pretty fascinating, just the way they can grow prolifically, and basically grow on pots that they're in. In nature, these would grow pretty wild on trees, maybe on rocks, depending on the type of orchid it is. So this here is a Vanda type orchid. This is not the best example of nice orchid roots. As you can see, some of these dried. Vandas can be a little trickier to grow, but I am going to show you another example of a healthier looking plant, and we'll have a better discussion on some of the different root parts. Okay, so this is a Dendrobium insignia. This is a good example of good aerial root growth. As you can see here, the plant is pretty happy. And if we take a closer look, you can actually see the nice coloration on the root tips there. So what we have here is this outer part here is called the velamine, and it actually surrounds a center core called the stele. And this outer part here basically works like a sponge. And if you were to see, if I sprayed this, you would actually see that the roots can turn green, basically absorbing the water, nutrients, and then basically holding on to these until they're needed. And then they'll get transported within the stele here. So what's interesting about these is that, and you can see on quite a few of my other orchids, is that some of these orchids, when they're planted in a pot, the outer velamine shell will develop a little bit differently. Okay, maybe it's a little more resistant to being waterlogged by overwatering to some extent, versus when it's growing out of a pot like this, it tends to prefer higher humidity. I would not want to go planting these back into the pot since they've already started growing out. And as you can see here, this plant, it looks very, very healthy. Nice canes on it. If I was to try to put these in a pot now, they probably would start growing slightly different to accommodate the different conditions, and I would risk probably losing these roots. So now it's important to note that with these roots, the healthy roots, you can sometimes actually see what color that the flower will be. This one in particular has a flower that's a little bit more on the orange side. I think it's orange and yellow, sort of stripe pattern. And you can see here on the root itself, it's actually got some sort of like a maroonish, reddish color to it. Of course, the green center there is for the stele part. Not in all cases, but typical cases. I can probably show you a better example if we were to take a look here. This is a Thrixspermum. This here, the root's actually like orange. And this plant here will actually grow flowers that are a fairly bright yellow. And what's kind of cool is, like, this orange reminds me of, when you put the Easter egg dyes to dye Easter eggs, it's got the orange color, you put it in the water and it actually turns out to be a yellow color. Same premise here, a little hard to see there against my finger. But they are a fairly deep orange color there. So yeah, love having these different aerial roots. Quite a few of my plants are growing really well. You can see the aerial roots there. This here would be an example of not such good growth of aerial roots. This is a Dendrobium nocturnum. At some point, this got overwatered, and actually cause the development to become waterlogged. I guess the cells burst open, and then basically the root system dies there. So the plant looks okay, but I do need to hopefully get new root growth on this. Some of the inner roots there don't look too bad, but hopefully this thing will make some recovery over the next couple months. So, all right, so what do I do, and what is my regimen that I use to keep good root growth? Well, first thing I do, obviously, is good water quality. Most municipalities, especially if it's not well, you could expect to have anywhere from maybe 90 to 100 parts per million up to, could be anywhere 200, 300, 400 parts per million TDS measurement. And that's total dissolved solids. And the higher the number, it's not good. Typically, when you water orchids, you want to keep that number as low as possible. Add your own fertilizer in here so you can determine the quality of the water. My municipality here is actually well water that comes from over Pennsylvania. And it comes into the house about 90 parts per million, but then I use an RO system, so I bring it down to 0, and then I add in whatever I want. So, all right, let's go take a look and see some of the nutrients that I'm using. All right, so there are 2 different additives that I actually use for root boosting, root promoting. One of them that I use has vitamin B and growth hormone. Another one has some humic acid along with some phosphorus. You can see back there. And I just want to say I'm not sponsored in any way by these products, but I have been using them for the past couple months, and I have noticed some improvement. So maybe it's in my head, who knows. But so the importance of the humic acid is basically it allows any growth hormone to essentially stay for a longer time within the plant. And I guess it allows it's called IAA, which is indole-3 acetic acid. And this is the actual root hormone promoting ingredient that will allow it to stay on the plant better, and it allows for better cell division and elongation. So, and you can see here, there's a bunch of other stuff. It looks like there's some other healthy bacteria and things like that that they add in here. Bacillus, subtilis, cumulus. There's a couple different things in there. I do like the other one that also contains vitamin B. I know there's some studies out there that say vitamin B doesn't necessarily help grow plant roots, but vitamin B is essential, and it is synthesized by the plant, and it allows for carbon assimilation, respiration, metabolic health, things like that. So it is essential, maybe not for the root directly, but for the overall health of the plant, it absolutely benefits. And again, with the phosphorus is essential for all chemical reactions within the plant. So you can see, obviously, that that's extremely important for energy stores, respiration, photosynthesis, everything. Without chemical reactions, just like in our body, the plant is not going to thrive at all. So, yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I find plant roots fascinating. You can tell a lot by the plant roots. Anytime you have a plant that's not doing well, I always recommend taking the plant out of the pot to check the roots. And a lot of times you'll see, if a plant is not doing well, that there could be a problem with the root system. So, and I just want to preface this too, with these 2 additives, I will also add the addition of a good fertilizer. Again, not a sponsor. I use Jax sometimes for some of the fertilizing. I have some other stuff up there, and got some other basic Miracle Grow down there. So it's not necessarily about the exact kind, because a lot of these fertilizers are fairly comparable to each other. I know some people will rave, MSU is the best, and they've studied it, and they've got down to critical amounts of elements needed by certain plants. But, you know, honestly, in my experience, I have found that there are many that can work, you know, pretty well. So, one other thing. Just wanted to get a quick mention of this. Again, not a sponsor of mine. Another product that I have been using is called Silica Blast. And what this is this contains, you can look at the back there, I guess it's silicon from sodium silicate and potassium silicate. And what this does is this helps it reinforce the outer shell of the plant material. So, for instance, pseudobulbs, it'll help strengthen the walls of pseudobulbs, as well as the canes and the leaves on the plant. I have found that this stuff helps with the pseudobulbs to actually swell up a little more and retain more moisture. Not exactly sure if it's due to limiting how much evaporation or respiration may be occurring from certain parts of the plant, but it does seem to work pretty well. And yeah, so I wanted to make mention of this. And this actually I will use in addition to the rooting hormone and whatever else I use, the other fertilizers as well. So, and again, don't overdo it. Just a little bit. Doesn't take much. So, all right, give it a shot. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up there on YouTube. And I welcome any feedback, any topics you want to see me break down and discuss further in the future. Please, I welcome comments. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you.
You ready to go for a walk? You ready to go for a walk? Huh? You ready? You ready to go for a walk? All right, come on, let's go. Let's go for a walk. Good boy. All right, let's go. Let's go for a walk. Good boy. Good boy. All right.